On this episode of AV Week, we have a conversation with my buddy and pal, Tom Leblanc, who is back in the AV industry. Also talking about the products and technology coming out of CES that's going to make its way into the commercial world and what trade shows you need to look at. All that and more next on AV Week.
The network for the AV industry.
What are you listening to?
This
is AV.
This
is AVNation.
This is AVNation.
This is AV Week, episode 438, recorded Friday, December 10th, 2020. Clever Code.
Support for AVNation is brought to you by Kramer, AV Beyond the Box, and by Christie Digital, and by Buy-In.
This is AV Week, your weekly wrap-up of audio-visual news and information. My name is Tom Leblanc. I am your host. Before, though, we start talking about the news and information of the week, we have a very special interview. A very old friend of mine, Mr. Tom Leblanc, recently left the AV industry. He stepped down from being Commercial Integrator's editor-in-chief that he started back in 2011, stepped down over the summer, went and did something else completely different from the AV industry, but now he is back. Tom is the new and the first ever Director of Industry Outreach and Media Channels, and Mr. Tom Leblanc joins us today to talk about that. Welcome, sir.
Thanks, Tim. It's good to be here again.
Good to see you. Good to see you. So not for nothing, Tom, first of all, he's been writing about and involved in the AV industry for darn near 20 years. Started a Commercial Integrator 9 years ago now, actually. And back in the summer, you stepped away for a bit, went and did something else, but now you're back in the AV industry as the first ever NSCA Director of Industry Outreach and Media Channels. So very simplistic question to start off here. Tom, what are you hoping to do and accomplish at NSCA?
Yeah, so, I mean, it's a simple question, but I'm not going to give you a simple answer because there's a lot to say here. So when I was at Commercial Integrator, one of the great relationships that I had was with NSCA. And I always really liked that, NSCA was very focused on sort of the business end of the industry because that was kind of the part that I liked to write about. So that's why I ended up writing a lot of stuff that, kind of, leaned on expertise from NSCA. So like you said, I left the industry and I thought I wanted to do something else. And I very quickly realized that I didn't. At least I didn't like the thing I was doing.
Okay.
And it kind of led to me thinking, okay, well, what do I like to do? What's my problem? What do I like to do? And it kind of brought me back to that, kind of core feeling that I had at Commercial Integrator, which was, when I would write a certain type of article or when I would work on a certain type of presentation, there was a connection to NSCA because NSCA was often doing similar things. So I like working on stuff that's about helping companies to, run their businesses better or give them advice about how to protect their business or give them advice about hiring and diversifying their business. I love that stuff. And, kind of thinking along those lines led me to be like, okay, well, I don't like my job, and I started thinking, like, hey, I used to talk to Chuck every now and again about the possibility of someday working together. I wonder if he still wants to do that. And, we started to have some conversations. And, when you work for a nonprofit organization, you can't just pull the trigger and hire somebody. It's a big process. The board has to kind of understand what we're trying to do and decide if it's something that they want to do as well. So there was a little bit of a process there. And, it for me, very luckily, worked out well. And I'm back in the industry and really, really excited to be working with NSCA.
Yeah. Well, and one of the things that you have as an advantage as somebody coming in, this is not NSCA hiring somebody just kind of off the street. And what behind the years, you personally, but also obviously Commercial Integrator, the last 5 or 6 years have been heavily involved with NSCA with their Business Leadership Conference, BLC, that happens every February or March, somewhere in the first quarter. You've worked with Chuck when it comes to some of the industry surveys that commercial integrator, and NSCA has kind of created and crafted together. So you have a deep working knowledge, I would say, of the organization and a lot of their members.
Yeah, I probably do have a little bit of an advantage in that regard, having worked pretty closely with NSCA over the years. But also, I mean, the bigger advantage that I have is I'm joining a really good team. A team that does really solid stuff. A big part of my role at NSCA is going to be working to create more and to amplify content about the stuff that NSCA and NSCA members are doing. But we already have a team that does a great job creating content, so it's easy for me to kind of slide in there and work with some strategies and try to amplify it here and there. But yeah, the familiarity is going to help, but also I think joining a great team helps. And I knew that that was one of the reasons why it was really appealing for me to come on board.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. All right, sir. Well, I will let you get. This is actually your first week and your first Friday, so you have some meetings to get to as well. As always, first of all, again, congratulations and good to have you back. How do people get a hold of you now, or NSCA if they are so inclined?
Yeah, so I mean, I'm still at the same Twitter account, so that's at LeBlanc Tom on Twitter, and you can also reach out to me at my NSCA account at tleblanc@nsca.org. And I'm really happy to be connecting with you again, Tim, and to be connecting with folks in the industry. I'm happy to be back.
All right, and continuing the conversation and talking about the rest of the news of the week. First and foremost, my buddy in pound, Mr. Brad Grimes. Welcome, sir.
Hey, Tim. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. Also with me, actually two newbies, so Brad, be nice to them. First of all, Jason Ward, a buddy from the UK over at Involve. Welcome, sir.
Thanks for having me. AVNation, living the dream. My life's complete now.
His own podcast, folks. You should go check it out because it's fantastic. Especially if you want to, it's a little bit like Soccer Hooligans, only if there's AV involved as well. And also Ariel Marcus. Ariel is from M4 Solutions out of Israel. Welcome, sir.
Thank you for having me.
Absolutely, absolutely. So let's kick this off here, guys. CES, we're recording this on Friday, January 10th. CES, the Consumer Electronics Show put on by the CTA, just wrapped up here. And a lot of stuff has come out of there. One of the things that has kind of blossomed over the last couple of years is the Smart Home Pavilion. Typically, that's taken place over in the Sands. Folks like Z-Wave Alliance and Google and Amazon have all had presences there. Brad, I'm going to start with you on this. As somebody who, Brad, not only has worked for a Vixen in the past, but also you were an editor for an AV magazine as well. At your point of view, as you watch shows like CES and a little bit of CEDIA back in the fall, what do you guys think? And Brad, you first here. What do you see coming out of CES and the technologies coming out of CES that'll eventually start hitting some of the commercial integrators?
Well, I think a lot of the technology you see out of CES is fodder for great ideas. I mean, really, clearly a lot of consumer electronics come out of there, stuff that you're going to buy and you and I are going to buy in our homes or we're going to buy wherever else. But it's also a place where you go and you get ideas. I mean, I'm really intrigued by artificial intelligence. We can talk about it a lot. It's a big part of consumer electronics these days. I do think it has a place in commercial AV and lots of other technology applications. Virtual reality, augmented reality, a lot of these things that sort of you get a taste of at CES. You get a lot of people piloting new ideas, and a lot of these things are already making their way into what we would call commercial applications. I mean, I've been working with a big technology company that is seeing a lot of action, for instance, with VR in healthcare. Healthcare is a place where the AV industry has a lot to offer. VR is more than just an AV application, but it gives people who are in commercial AV or any other technology integration field ideas. And how can we apply some of this great technology? How can we apply artificial intelligence to applications? And then we just need to go find the use case. And then it's going to be down the line. It's not going to be right away. It's going to take some time for ideas to bubble up and find an application in the real world.
Yeah. Jason, Brad mentioned a couple of things here. One of them that has come down the pipeline is voice. I know a number of years ago, Harman started working with IBM and Watson to kind of do their own voice control Crestron and Control4 have integrations with Amazon Alexa and Amazon the Echo ecosystem. So as you're watching shows like CES, what are you guys looking at? What are you seeing specifically that you think is going to come down into the commercial world?
I kind of agree with what Brad's saying about the AI. I wonder where the lines are drawn between AI and just clever code. But I do see that that's a sort of big part of what we're doing. Watching the show from afar, I love David Danto's 5G cynicism. And he sort of bangs that drum big, loud and hard. But I do think in our world, and Brad's already mentioned healthcare applications, I see really strong healthcare applications as you take healthcare into the field in a B2C environment, that you truly are in sort of a mobile application world, because you don't need to look for a network in order to get a quick video call, for example, or network access in order to deliver great results. So that's going to happen. Me poking fun like David is autonomous vehicles, the new AV, because I saw a lot of cars coming on my social media feed. And then more generally speaking, these products are bleeding into our environments. You're not going to escape it. You've just got to embrace it. Deal with it or embrace it.
Yeah. Ariel, we'll let you wrap up on this one. We have seen a flip where 20 years ago, maybe, probably 20 years ago, the pro environment is what was pushing into commercial, right? You would see a giant projector here at Infocom 20 years ago, and then a year or two later, you'd see the same type of projection system at CES and at CEDIA. Now that's kind of flipped. So what are we seeing in the commercial world that's pushing its way into the commercial?
On my opinion, most of the application that we will see that will be adopted, is part of it is the augmented reality. We're seeing a lot of those on the different platforms that provide different solutions in an easy way to implement. So augmented reality, I think that's the next thing that we will see.
Very good. All three of you had said augmented reality, so we'll see where we go with that. All right, guys. Next topic or story comes actually from our very website. L Acoustics is hosting an AES Academy at NAMM. If you're not familiar with what NAMM is, there's two NAMM shows every single year. One typically happens in the wintertime in January. That is the bigger of the two. And then there's one typically in the summer and the fall. This one, though, is a music-centric trade show. And one thing I want to start with, and Jason, I'll start with you, as we look at CES first and then NAMM, and then shortly thereafter NAMM, you've got ISE, and shortly after ISE here in the States, you've got DSE, and then you've got NAB, National Association of Broadcasters, and after NAB, you've got Infocom, which happens in June. All of these shows, and we can continue on, and I'm not going to because it'll take the rest of the show. But as we look at these various shows, and you could make a living just going to trade shows, besides what I'm going to say are the big ones, right? And this is no disrespect for anybody. I would say the biggest one, strictly from a attendance standpoint, is ISE. Integrated Systems Europe happens the 11th to the 14th of February. It's the biggest one in the world, right? For North America, it's Infocom, and then we can discuss the regionalized versions of that, whether it's India, Australia, various versions of that. Depending on where you are, though, Jason, besides the big one that you think that folks should go to, what other ones or what other types of shows should integrators start looking at?
I think we're a little bit unique on our little island. The next biggest shows after the big ones that happen on a continental basis, on a more country level, are run by distributors and manufacturers specifically. They get more attention than UC Expo, for instance, is the biggest one that springs to mind outside, claims to be Europe's biggest UC show. I'll be honest, and I'll be brutally honest like I always am, it's terrible. It's the wrong side of the river and a waste of a day.
Why is it terrible?
Nothing new. The vendors are a bit apathetic with the quality of people on the booth. That means the quality of the conversation can be degraded a little bit. There's a complete sort of lack of commitment. You know, it'd be nice if, for example, if somebody held back an announcement for it to give it some kudos, but nothing happens. The most impressive thing I've seen, Tim, just to sort of draw a line under my part, in the past couple of years, I saw you there, was the PSNI Super Summit. I know it's sort of, you have to be a member, and it's by invitation only. I wish I could do 2 hops to the US and do both shows, but based on time out of the office, I have to pick one, and this year I've picked Infocom. But PSNI Super Summit was groundbreaking from the quality of what you're hearing, the quality of conversation, a more relaxed attitude. Brilliant. It was inspiring. A lot of takeaways. I changed some genuine things for the good on what we do within our business as a result of attending the PSNI Super Summit. I think other shows should look to what Haley and the guys are doing there and try and replicate it a little bit. It's brilliant what they do.
Well, and some of that is if I can take off from what you said there, is the memberships, right? And obviously not everybody can be a member of PSNI. We can have discussions about that later and forward you to those right people. But other memberships as well, whether that be, you know, regional shows for Infocom, National Association, you know, NSCA, that our buddy, you know, we just talked to Tom Leblanc about. You know, they have a couple of different events every year. So yeah, those are as well. Ariel, same kind of question to you. What other, besides the massive trade shows, what other shows should folks be looking at?
I think, in my opinion, I think that there are too many shows at that point. It's very difficult for me to say that there is additional show that we would like to attend, because you need to understand we are developing. So if you want to develop something and you want to show it, then you need a development time for it. Otherwise, you will not be able to attend. For us, sorry to say, but still, I'm keeping the traditional one, like ISC and Infocom. It's very difficult for me to come up with an opinion saying there is additional show that we need to attend, at least on the AV world. I think that there is too much. It's very difficult to show new things at a short time between those shows.
All right, very good. Brad, last question here. And Jason mentioned the UC show over in the UK. We also have one here, Enterprise Connect.
Mm-hmm.
To Jason's point, some people do hold off and do announce a number of things. Poly, just for the record, that was when Poly came out, announcement between the combination of Plantronics and Polycom. That's when that announcement happened in 2019. Mm-hmm. So what other shows from your vantage point should folks maybe consider?
Well, I mean, when you rattled off all the shows in the first half of the year, that was my itinerary for about 5 years. I went to every one of those shows. But and this is an enormous cop-out, but it depends. I mean, if you're going to be an AV firm and you're going to focus on hardcore, bread and butter AV, then you know the major shows that you need to be at. All these shows have some of their specialties. NAB is a great show. It's great if you're big into streaming media and you're making broadcast rooms and things like. If digital signage is obviously great, but if you're not going to just be an AV firm all the time, you're going to broaden yourself. You're going to find other niches, other places. We talked about AR, VR. If you've gotten some really smart engineers who can think up an AR, VR application in the healthcare field, and there are companies that have dedicated VR applications for healthcare companies, then you're going to go to AR, VR conferences. We didn't talk about drones coming out of CES or anywhere else, and we sometimes sort of laugh at drones, but I got to tell you, drones are going to be a big application area. And if you can build an application, I was talking to a gentleman the other day who worked for a company that created a automated drone application that would basically scare geese away from food processing plants, because frankly, if geese do what geese do in a food processing plant, it exposes the public to risk. And they created a platform that will detect when there are geese. It actually knows that it's a goose because it has intelligence, and then drones go up and it scares them off and teaches them not to hang around. So if you find an application like that's not traditional AV, but is a technology application of a related technology, then you're going to go to those shows. So I would say, it totally depends. Clearly we can't go to everything.
No.
And all the shows that you mentioned are great shows. NAM's a great show. AES is a great conference. So it really depends on where you want to apply your technology chops.
Absolutely. And just for the record, NAM's happens the 16th through the 19th in Anaheim. So if you're out that way or you're involved in the music section, lots of great folks that you're going to see at ISC and Infocom will also be at NAM. So check those out. Last story here, guys, before we let you get out of here. This comes to us from our friends over at AV Magazine. It was an interesting application of Barco's WeConnect, a virtual classroom. Virtual University is hosting up to 84 students utilizing WeConnect. Quote unquote from the article, the ESSEC Business School in France connects up to 84 people joining remotely. Participants are all displayed to the teacher on a series of screens at 100% real life size, meaning that interaction between teacher and participant can happen just about as it does in a live classroom environment. Ariel, we'll start with you on this one. Is this a new version of higher ed that we're seeing in AV, where it's, instead of massive lecture halls, these are going to be more like studios with, a number of monitors up, and the teachers can kind of just sit back and interact with the students one-on-one, instead of the students having to come to a physical campus and as well as the instructor having to come to one?
I think it was just requested to happen, because we are seeing during the last year a lot of different application, different stuff going to the classrooms and different implementation. This is actually also connected to the first story that we started with about augmented reality. Augmented reality will create the new classrooms. You will be able to demonstrate, you will be able to do anything that you want. So having all of those, it's going to be the future. It's the next generation of the education and the classrooms that we're seeing. I think this is a very good start, and we will see a lot of those.
All right, very good. Brad, same kind of question. Is this, whether that's, augmented reality, AI, or, augmented reality or artificial intelligence or other types of technology, are we seeing higher ed more and more embracing these new technologies?
Oh yeah, absolutely. I think Harvard Business School did the same kind of virtual classroom, huge wall, lots of different people pulled in. I believe our friends at McCann Systems were even involved in that installation. Yeah, higher ed is definitely looking at new technologies, new ways of attracting students, keeping them engaged, differentiating themselves. Very competitive field. Basically right now, CES is a great showcase for it. Technology can do a lot of things. Now go out and find the use case for it and create the application that will actually deliver results. Just because something can do something doesn't mean you have to do it with it, but find the application for it. And this is a great application of conferencing technology and visual technology to bring people together from around the world.
Absolutely. Jason, you have the last word on this. As you're talking with integrators and you're talking with some of your clients that are in higher ed, how do you walk them through some of this minefield of, it's new technology, it's bright and shiny, but as Brad said, sometimes we have to find the actual use case to leverage some of this new technology.
In use case as well as commercial, there's a commercial realization to this. We saw the WeConnect application when we took AV Jam to Cortrec at Barco. Because of time constraints, it didn't make it into the episode. It's a very cool product, very immersive. My question, as per my sort of starting statement on this, is who can afford this right now? Here in the UK, Oxbridge universities can probably afford it, but some of the former polytechnics that now call themselves universities are running on a much tighter budget. So have we got to wait for the third iteration of these solutions to come to market before we see mass adoption? Because the current, I think Brad mentioned Harvard Business School, Harvard, Oxford, Cambridge. You're certainly not going to see Bristol University buying one of these next week. It'll be the third iteration of this product at a much more reasonable price tag before you start to see mass adoption of this kind of stuff. I have seen in his previous job Joe Way doing some cool stuff though. that I was he's doing some good stuff, not necessarily with a big budget as well in his old job.
Yeah, in his old job. And I will say this, and Jason will come back to you on this. Is this one of those things where we wait for a technology to mature, number one, and for some of the trademarks and patents to kind of get out, or those licenses to start, to where you're right, where that second, third, and fourth tier manufacturer who doesn't have the price tag associated, but universities and colleges, I started off in the AV industry at a small little community college, right? Did not have the budgets of a USC or a Boston college. So we're seeing wait for that technology to kind of mature, and then maybe it can go down the pipeline a little bit farther.
And that, yeah, you're right, Tim. And that relatively sort of it's the budget restriction that's in place makes these organisations a bit risk averse. So they're going to sort of pass through the early adopters and almost a little bit coming out of the early majority, and then you're going to see sort of a bit more of a wider uptake on this, I think. I send a little bit of apathy even with the guys in the building. This is a really cool product, but there was kind of the words they weren't using was, we don't sell many of them.
Yeah.
You sensed it. They weren't saying it, but you did sense it.
Yeah, I could see especially if it's a premium product like that, there are going to be limitations to that. So, all right, guys, that is going to do it for us. Thank you all so much, Mr. Brad Grimes. Thank you, sir.
Thanks, Tim. Appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
And how do people get a hold of you if they are so inclined?
I'm still in the Twitterverse at bgrimesdc.
Very good. Mr. Ward, thank you, sir.
You're welcome.
And how do people get a hold of you, get a hold of Involve, or listen to your fabulous AV Jam podcast?
AV Jam at AV Jam UK podcast. We've just launched a LinkedIn group for everyone to sort of join in. That we'll be making that known very soon. At JP Ward on Twitter, message me there. It's as good as email. I'm more reliable at replying on Twitter than I am email. Is a good place to get hold of me. We'll be at ISE, sharing a bit of booth space with our PSNI friends, booth number B200.
Very good. Also, you guys will be in Hall 15 as well. Hall 15 is hang on for a second.
It is Hall 15, you're right. The new hall, that nobody goes to.
Well, it's not nobody goes to. It's the newest one, though. It's the newest one. But yeah, PSNI will be in Hall 15 B200. So, Ariel, thank you, sir.
Thank you for having me, and we will see you at ISE. ISE, we will be at the Hall 5 at booth T80 with the HD-based Alliance and with a lot of new stuff that we are going to present. One of them is the third generation of the HD-based, and we're going to present also in the testing world IP capabilities on our tester.
Excellent. Awesome.
So we have some interesting things.
Yeah, you can always check out M4. M4's got some good testing equipment. So for us, for AVNation, or for me, don't go by the website. It's football season, and my Bears have been out of it. So since they were at Tottenham, actually, in the UK. But go by the website, if you would, please, avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. You'll find this program and a host of others. While you're there, please check out our supporter section. These are the folks who help us financially, help us bring you AVWeek and ResiWeek and our coverage of ISE 2021. Last time in Amsterdam happens the 11th through the 14th of February. We'll be there. JP will be there. Ariel will be there. Not sure yet. Brad will be there, but
I'll be there.
Brad will be there. So there you'll all be there. We'll be there in case you can't. One thing we will do is AVNation has a studio now at this year's ISE. So we'll be doing our daily wrap-up show, actually starting Monday of the program. So actually February 10th, we'll be doing starting a daily wrap-up show. It will be at 11:30 Eastern every single day, with the exception of Friday, simply because the show ends early on Friday. Will actually be at 9:30 Eastern on Friday. So all that and more at avnation.tv. That's avnation.tv. Thanks so much for listening. Thank you so much for watching. That's all the time we have for AV Week.